There are things women secretly want men to do, things they will almost never say out loud, not because they don't feel them, but because admitting them feels risky. They want control, but not too much. They crave attention, but only from the right man. And sometimes, the very things they say they hate are the exact things that make their heart race. Today, I'm going to expose 7 dirty things women secretly wish men did. Not dirty in a physical sense, dirty in a psychological sense. These are not about disrespect. They're about understanding the instinctive side of attraction, the part that operates beneath logic, politeness, and social rules. Stay until the end, because number 7 reveals the core instinct that controls female attraction more than almost anything else. Before we go further, let me say this clearly. This video is not here to motivate you. It's here to remove confusion. If you've ever felt like you were doing everything right, but still couldn't tell where you actually stood with her, this channel is for you. Like this video so it reaches men who are tired of guessing. Subscribe if you want female psychology explained without games, without blame, and without false hope. And if this already feels uncomfortably accurate, comment clear, not for me, but so you mark the moment. You stopped guessing. Now listen carefully. Before we talk about what women secretly want, you need to understand why most men never see it. Most men listen to what women say they want. But attraction is not built on words. It's built on emotional response. Women often describe attraction logically, but experience it instinctively. And that gap between words and response is where most men lose without realizing it. This is not because women are lying. It's because attraction doesn't come from conscious thought. It comes from how a man makes her nervous system feel. Safe or tense, relaxed or alert, grounded or bored. Once you understand that, everything changes. 1. She secretly wants you to take control, confidently, not forcefully. Even the most independent woman feels drawn to a man who knows what he wants and calmly takes the lead. She may value equality, and she does. But emotionally, she responds to certainty. When you guide situations without hesitation, when you make decisions without asking for approval, you awaken something primal, not control, security. Every single day, she makes decisions. What to wear, what to say, how to respond, how to manage tension, how to stay composed. She is constantly in problem-solving mode. When she's with you, she doesn't want another decision. She wants to exhale. When you say, "I've got this," and mean it. When you choose the plan without asking 5 questions. When you stay calm in uncertainty, you're giving her something rare, mental rest. And here's the mistake most men make. They think leadership means dominance. It doesn't. Leadership is internal certainty. A man who constantly asks, "Is this okay? What do you want to do? Are you sure?" doesn't feel respectful. He feels exhausting, not because he's kind, but because he adds to her mental load. Instead of taking it away, true leadership removes pressure. And pressure relief is deeply attractive. She doesn't want to manage you. She wants to trust you. When she feels you can handle moments without needing reassurance, her attraction shifts from conscious to instinctive. 2, she wants you to tease her playfully, not cruelly. Most men fall into one of 2 extremes: too nice or too cold. Women crave the middle. Playful teasing creates emotional tension, and tension is what makes attraction feel alive. Teasing says, "I'm comfortable. I'm not intimidated. I can handle you." And that matters more than compliments ever will. When you tease correctly, you communicate confidence. Without saying a word, you show that her beauty doesn't control you, that her presence doesn't unbalance you, that you're grounded in yourself. That's attractive. Think about the difference. She says she's running late. Response 1, "That's okay, no worries." Safe, polite, forgettable. Response 2, "Let me guess, outfit change number 3? Now there's emotion, a smile, a reaction. That small spike of feeling is what keeps her engaged. But here's the boundary. Teasing must come from warmth. Playful teasing says, "I see you and I like you." Cruel teasing says, "I want power over you." Women feel the difference instantly. One builds chemistry, the other destroys trust. Teasing done right creates attraction because it shows emotional strength. Compliments tell her what she already knows. Teasing shows her who you are, and who you are matters more than what you say. 3. She wants to chase you, even if she'll never admit it. Here's a psychological truth most men resist. People value what they earn, not what they're given. When a man is too available, too eager, too predictable, attraction doesn't grow, it fades. Not because she's cruel, not because she's broken, but because her brain stops engaging. Desire needs movement, and movement needs resistance. A man who is always there, always responding, always adjusting, removes all tension. There's nothing to lean into, nothing to pursue. And without pursuit, attraction weakens. This doesn't mean ignoring her. It means not centering your life around her. A man with his own direction creates natural scarcity. He doesn't manufacture distance. He lives his life. He has work, goals, routines, priorities. And his attention is not unlimited. That scarcity changes how she feels. When she has to invest effort. When she has to initiate. When she has to wonder where she stands. Her emotional attachment deepens. Because investment creates value. The man who texts back instantly every time, drops plans, and rearranges his life for her availability, signals that his attention has no cost. And what has no cost has no value. But the man who is present without being clingy, engaged without being desperate, available without being predictable, creates desire without trying. Her mind begins to work. She thinks about him more. She initiates more. She invests more. And the more she invests, the more she values the connection. This is why relationships where women chase early often become the most stable long-term, because she didn't just receive him, she earned him. And people protect what they earn. 4. She wants you to have a dark side under control. Women are drawn to contrast. Kind but not weak. Calm but not passive. Gentle but capable of intensity. A man with no edge feels safe, but forgettable. A man with controlled darkness feels safe and exciting. This isn't about aggression. It's about depth. She wants to know that if something went wrong, you wouldn't freeze. That if someone crossed a line, you wouldn't fold. That beneath your calm exterior, there is strength, not chaos. Strength. This comes from control. Any man can lose his temper. Any man can be reckless. But a man who could be dangerous and chooses restraint signals mastery. That's what attracts her. This is why women are drawn to men who handle conflict without panic, who set boundaries without shouting, who stay grounded when others escalate. They don't need to prove anything. Their presence does it for them. She feels protected, not because you're loud, but because you're steady. This is also why women are often drawn to men with intensity in their eyes and calm in their behavior. It's the contrast. A wolf to the world, peaceful with her. That duality creates fascination. She feels safe, but never bored. 5. She wants you to ignore her just a little. This sounds uncomfortable, but it's true. Constant attention doesn't create closeness. It creates pressure. When your focus is always on her, your attention loses weight, not because attention is bad, but because unfiltered attention has no value. When you don't text first every time, when you don't respond instantly, when you're sometimes unavailable, her mind fills in the gaps. What's he doing? Why hasn't he reached out? Where do I stand? That uncertainty creates emotional tension, and emotional tension fuels attraction. This isn't about playing games. It's about independence. A man with a full life isn't glued to his phone. He responds when he's available, not when he's anxious. That communicates value. From her perspective, the shift is subtle but powerful. If you're always available, she assumes you have nothing better to do. If you're sometimes unavailable, she assumes your life matters. And people want access to lives that matter. The key word here is balance. Disappearing completely doesn't create attraction. It creates distrust. But being slightly unpredictable, because you're genuinely engaged in your own life, creates intrigue. She doesn't feel ignored. She feels curious. And curiosity keeps attraction alive. When your life doesn't revolve around her, she wants to be part of it.
6. She wants you to tell her no. This is where most men lose everything. Without realizing it, they believe saying yes makes them likable. They believe agreeing keeps peace. They believe flexibility creates attraction. It doesn't. Boundaries do. A woman may enjoy being accommodated, but she respects a man who can refuse. When you say no calmly, without anger, without explaining yourself to death, you show emotional independence. And emotional independence is magnetic. Most men enter relationships seeking approval. They want to be chosen. They want to be liked. They want to avoid conflict. That desire is human. But when a man sacrifices his boundaries to avoid discomfort, he loses something far more important than approval. He loses respect. Women are not attracted to men they can control. They're attracted to men they cannot. When you say no to something that doesn't work for you, when you hold your ground even if it disappoints her, you communicate self-respect. And self-respect changes the dynamic. She may test this. She may push limits. She may apply pressure. She may create emotional tension, not because she wants to hurt you, but because she wants to see if your frame holds. When you stay calm, grounded, and firm, her respect increases because you've shown her that your center doesn't move. A man who can walk away rarely needs to, and a man who doesn't fear loss is a man women work to keep. 7. She wants to feel emotionally claimed, not controlled. This is the instinct most men misunderstand. Women do not want domination. They want surrender. Not surrender to force, but surrender to certainty. She wants to feel chosen, held, and emotionally anchored by a man she trusts. This isn't about ownership in a controlling sense. It's about emotional depth. When you lead with presence, when you protect her emotional space, when you are consistent in who you are, she feels safe enough to let go. And letting go is what creates devotion. A woman wants to feel that she belongs with you, not because she has to, but because she wants to. That feeling comes from reliability, from emotional steadiness, from knowing where she stands. When you see her clearly, when you understand her fears without exploiting them, when you accept both her softness and her edge, she relaxes, not into weakness, into trust. That trust allows her to surrender emotionally. And when a woman surrenders emotionally, she bonds deeply, not because you demanded it, because you earned it. This is where attraction shifts from excitement to loyalty, from interest to devotion. She doesn't feel controlled. She feels claimed by a man strong enough to hold her heart.
What most men get wrong about attraction. Most men think attraction is built through effort, more texting, more explaining, more proving. But attraction is built through structure, certainty, boundaries, independence, depth. When those are present, you don't need tricks. You don't need pressure. You don't need persuasion. Attraction happens naturally. This is why men who chase approval lose respect, and men who respect themselves gain interest. Women respond to how a man shows up, not how hard he tries. They feel what you are, not what you promise. When you stop trying to be chosen and start choosing yourself, the dynamic flips. She leans in, she invests, she attaches, because confidence isn't loud, it's grounded, and grounded men don't need to convince. They allow. The quiet truth behind all of this: attraction is not logical, it's not fair, and it's not polite. It's instinctive. It responds to strength, clarity, and emotional stability. When you embody those things, you don't need to chase women. You become the man they respond to without understanding why. And once that happens, everything feels easier. Not because you changed who you are, but because you stopped fighting your nature. Now you understand the pattern, not the surface behavior, not the words, the structure underneath attraction. Women don't fall for men because they say the right things. They fall because of how a man positions himself emotionally. Everything you've heard so far points to one quiet truth. Attraction isn't created by effort. It's created by stability. When a man is grounded, consistent, and emotionally self-directed, a woman doesn't need to be convinced. She feels it. This is where most men get stuck. They think attraction is something they must do, something they must perform, something they must maintain through constant action. That belief alone puts them in a losing position. Because the moment you feel like you're working to keep attraction alive, you've already given away your leverage. Attraction survives on contrast. A man who has a center. A man who doesn't chase emotional reactions. A man who doesn't panic when attention shifts. That calm presence does more than any tactic ever could. Why women rarely explain what they want. Here's something important. Women aren't hiding these desires to deceive men. They hide them because they don't consciously experience attraction the same way men do. Attraction happens before thought, before logic, before explanation. So when a woman says, "I don't like that," but responds emotionally to it anyway, she isn't lying. She's describing attraction from the wrong level. You don't argue with that. You don't confront it. You don't try to explain it to her. You simply understand it. Men who argue with female attraction patterns lose. Men who observe them calmly win. Because once you understand the pattern, you stop personalizing reactions. You stop overcorrecting. You stop chasing clarity from someone who can't give it. And you start trusting your own positioning.
The difference between manipulation and mastery. There's a line many men are afraid to cross. They worry that understanding attraction means becoming manipulative. It doesn't. Manipulation is about control through deception. Mastery is about alignment with reality. A man who understands attraction doesn't force outcomes. He allows them. He doesn't pressure. He doesn't plead. He doesn't over-explain. He creates conditions where attraction either grows naturally or fades quickly, and both outcomes are acceptable. That's power. Because the man who isn't afraid to lose is the man who doesn't need to manipulate. He doesn't cling. He doesn't collapse. He doesn't negotiate his worth. He stays steady. And steadiness is rare. Why this changes how women experience you. When you embody what you've learned here, women feel something different around you. They feel less pressure, less confusion, less emotional noise. They don't feel chased. They don't feel tested. They don't feel managed. They feel held, not physically, emotionally. They know where they stand. They know what you tolerate. They know what you won't accept. That clarity relaxes them. And relaxed women bond deeply. This is why men who are grounded don't need to escalate artificially. They don't need lines. They don't need tactics. Their presence does the work. The quiet shift that changes everything. At some point, something flips. You stop asking, "How do I make her feel?" and start asking, "Does this situation align with who I am?" That shift alone changes the entire dynamic. You stop auditioning. You stop proving. You stop performing masculinity. You simply are. And women respond to that far more than effort. Because effort feels needy, and neediness kills desire. Clarity doesn't. Women are not attracted to perfection. They're attracted to certainty. Not arrogance. Not control. Not force. Certainty. A man who knows where he stands. Who doesn't abandon himself for attention. Who doesn't fear silence. Who doesn't chase reassurance. That man doesn't need to convince anyone. He becomes the reference point. And once you become that, women don't ask for more effort. They adjust. They lean in. They invest. They attach. Not because you demanded it, because your presence made sense. This channel isn't about manipulation. It's not about shortcuts. And it's not about trying to make someone choose you. It's about understanding how attraction actually works. So you stop fighting yourself. When you lead with clarity, set boundaries without anger, and stay grounded in your own life, you don't lose women. You lose confusion. And clarity is what creates power. If this brought clarity instead of comfort, like the video. It helps this reach men who are tired of guessing. Subscribe if you want female psychology explained, without games, without blame, and without false hope. And if something clicked for you today, comment grounded, not for engagement, but to mark the moment you stopped chasing reactions and started standing in your position. Stay steady, stay self-directed, and remember, the most attractive thing a man can do is stop asking who he needs to be and start deciding who gets access to him.